Hi there. Thank you to anyone who's decided to click on this and listen. This will be my third episode by now, I believe, with my mental health. And this one has got a bit more of a topic to it, which is about social media and the sort of pressure it puts on us and the influence that it can have on us. I mean, there's so many things when it comes to social media, but the reason I want to talk about it this evening is because, well, currently I've been struggling to record for a podcast. I think I said in one of my episodes that I've got a passion for rugby, which I really do. It's a love of mine, and it's something that I'd also love to sort of talk about and get out there. But whilst trying to record it this evening, I just couldn't. I couldn't go through with it. I probably tried it about 4 or 5 times. Longest time was probably about 6 minutes, and then the shortest was probably about 10 seconds. But the reason I've been having such a hard time to talk about it is because I'm just so concerned about the thoughts or the interpretation or what people might say or judge me about it, and it's really funny because talking about this, I understand that first of all I'm probably not going to get many people listening to it anyway, but second of all, what is the issue if I did have a different opinion to someone else when it came to the sport? And I suppose, again, the reason for that is because the influence that social media's had on me, and more importantly, to do with that, the toxicity side of things. I watch and I listen to a lot of rugby pods as well as, highlights of players, etc., etc. But, being a fan of these podcasts and watching and listening to them, it's kind of strange that even in a sort of a community video like rugby, a lot of prevalent sort of comments that you see are negative. Or maybe for people like us with mental health, who knows? I slightly think that's probably the case as well, because I do think there are a load of positive comments on those sort of podcasts, but you just see a lot of people sort of calling this person out for not knowing, what they're talking about, to a person just being a fucking idiot and talking shit about someone for no reason whatsoever. But that is just something that is continuously sort of like going into the back of my mind when trying to record for this sports podcast. And again, I struggle with it because I feel like it has to sound a certain way, or sorry, I have to sound a certain way and come across a certain way. And I suppose what I mean by that is being sort of sounding a bit more professional, because I suppose so many people that do it now, it just does come across as professional. And again, I know that this is just all in my head, because I'm sure there are other sort of much smaller local podcast communities out there that talk about their rugby and whatnot. But obviously you look at, or you type something in like rugby into a podcast site, and it's obviously all the most popular ones at first. And so because any podcast, I mean, even this one, which again is ironic that I'm talking about my struggle and I don't mind posting about this, but it's because this feels a lot more authentic for me. I don't mind talking about this sort of thing. And that's not to say that I don't mind talking about rugby. I just have a judgment towards myself where I think, well, who cares what you'd have to say? What are you going to say that is different to anyone else? What is your interpretation going to do to an audience when they've probably heard the same one or a different one a good few many times? So that's why I'm sort of struggling with that, and that's why I thought it's quite important to talk about, the negative side of social media and how it can influence you. I've been off social media sites for a while now, more so the sort of Twitters, Facebook. Unfortunately, I never got into Instagram. But those sort of sites, I got myself off it to see if it would benefit my mental health, and it definitely did. For two separate reasons on both the individual apps that I named that I had been on. With Facebook, it came down to, well, being someone who was going through anxiety and depression really badly. Facebook was a place of just posting, from people posting about like their holidays that they were on, to jobs that they had got. It's a very sort of like similar to Instagram, which is why I was never into Instagram anyway, but it's kind of a super, or can be a superficial app where people sort of just post a lot about the good things in their life. And so someone going through a bit of a tough time can sort of see that and feel so much more isolated, because you'll see, a few to maybe even 100 people talking about how great things are going, or pictures of how great things are going, and you can sort of sit there and feel like a bit of a piece of shit, really. And so that's why I got off that, because that's what happened to me. I was just sort of seeing everyone, especially going through in my 20s, where I was feeling like I wasn't having my life figured out, and I was seeing all these people that they were getting on with their life, they were getting engaged, they were going on holidays, they were getting promoted into a big time sort of job, and then there's me sort of not really having a lot. And so I thought at the time it would be better for me to get off, and it absolutely was. I think I probably could go on Facebook now, because I am feeling a lot better, but I it's kind of a thing where I don't feel like I need it. I've got Messenger and things like that to talk to people if I need to, so I don't really need to see what things have people got going in their lives. I can just ask them if we go out for a drink or whatnot. Now, I'm sure if I'm to do this more seriously and not so much of a hobby, then I probably would go on some form of social media site for whoever's listening to this to sort of reach out, or have a chat, just to, or promote myself, who knows. But at the moment, I just don't see the point in getting that. But then on to the next site, Twitter. Twitter for me, I went on Twitter to, again, follow friends, but also it was a place where you could actually sort of follow more specific communities. So I followed Gloucester Rugby. I followed a number of things that I was very interested in, but it quickly went from just seeing those follower feeds and what people had going on to like the most cesspool shite that you've ever seen. And I know anyone who is listening to this can agree. If you have ever gone on Twitter, you won't even follow some of these pages that then come up with videos or are talking about things that just don't do anything good for you at all and are pointless, but they're in front of you, and I just don't know why that is. And for me, it was just a case of I just needed to get off, because I was seeing a lot of negativity more than positivity. It was a place where people were very sort of brutal to each other, and then, as well as people being brutal to each other, you went news, and news for me just always seems depressing more than positive. And so I just needed to get that stuff away from me while I was going through the sort of negative anxiety and depression that I was going through. And look, I can thankfully say at this current moment in time, like, I am a lot better. So would I say that going off of the social media helped for me? Absolutely, definitely. And again, as I said, I think I could go back. Probably not Twitter, because I think Twitter is still the same, if not, it's gotten so much worse. But I could probably go back on a Facebook. It's just that I don't really see much of a point to it anymore. But to anyone that is listening, I'm very interested in hearing what your thoughts are, and what experiences you've gone through with social media, and how it's influenced you and your thinking, or how it's affected your mental health because you've seen something that you didn't want to see, that literally was there for no reason. It's such a infuriating thing, but I mean, it's thankfully something that I've not had to deal with for a good amount of time now. But yeah, I really just wanted to sort of have this brief talk on this one, because as I said, I was really struggling with recording my sports rugby podcast, and it's just because the influence that I've had of me consuming so many sort of sports podcasts, and so automatically putting myself down and thinking that I wouldn't be good enough, and also the remembrance of people bullying people on social media for doing what they wanted to do because it was the enjoyment for it, and so feeling a little bit of pressure there as well. And I can sort of, after having this conversation, which has calmed me down a little bit and made me realise it's not that serious, and again, I don't think I'm going to have to worry too much about viewers and comments busting, all the way down. But it's just a conversation that I wanted to have to relieve some stress, and hopefully it can maybe make someone out there who's struggling laugh a little bit, or also make someone open their eyes up and go, oh, actually, shit, you know what? Like, I'm currently in this loop of social media, and realizing that it's influenced my life in ways of judging people in places, because social media is just infested with judgment, and oh shit, like, I've got that realization, so I probably need to take a step back, or who knows, maybe it is just for me. But to anyone who is listening to this, thank you very much, and I all hope that you have a lovely day.